Long time no see, old pal.
Sup, fellow quacks. So today I'm going to be yapping about Dragon Quest while I do a speed paint of all the mainline Dragon Quest heroes with cool glowing number tattoos. So let's just dive right in. So the art was actually an idea that I've had for quite some time, but I've only now gotten around to actually drawing it. I thought the idea of having all of the heroes with like these glowing number tattoos was really cool, but I didn't know how to execute it, so I never really drew it until now. So I guess they were kind of supposed to be like a continuation of the icons that I drew of the heroes a couple of years ago for Dragon Quest Day, but I wanted to make them look more cool rather than like silly and quirky like in the other icons that I drew of them. So yeah, going through each one, for Dragon Quest 1, I just put it on his cheek because I was just like, whatever. It looks kind of bleh. I'm not really a big fan of how his tattoo looks. Same for Dragon Quest 2, but I do like how 2's look came out. I thought that was pretty neat. Then for 3, I put it on his forehead because he has this like headpiece, so I was like, oh, that makes sense. I did screw up a little bit. You might notice that like initially he was pulling his hair back, but then I realized that like there was part of his hair that was not pushed back, so it didn't make sense. So I moved his hair so it looked like it was sort of floating, so that way it gave the illusion of like, oh, his hair was like magically floating because of the tattoo or whatever. So yeah, then for 4, I put it on his neck. I'm not sure why, there was no significant reason. Initially I was going to put it on his ear because he has this slime earring, but then I was just like, that would be too small. I wanted the tattoos to all be like relatively the same size and like really visible, so I just put it on his neck because I was like, why not? For 5, I put it on his chest, so I was like, that fits. And also I like the idea of him sort of gripping his like cape thing and kind of looking angry. I thought that was just an interesting visual to do. For Dragon Quest 6, I put it on his shoulder since he has like this sort of like tank top, so I was like, oh, that makes sense. For 7, I didn't really know what to do for 7, so I put it on his fingers, and for 7 and 8, they both look like they're doing like quirky and cutesy gang signs, which just kind of my attention, but not really. But I thought it was just cute, so I went along with it. And for 8 as well, I put them on their fingers solely because there were so many like Roman numerals for both of them that I was just like, okay, I might as well just put them on their fingers. And I also thought it was cool. I mean, initially one of my ideas was that I was gonna have like them do like a fist bump thing, but I was like, nah, that looks kind of stupid. For 9, I put it on his back because I thought, oh, he has like angel wings, so I think it makes sense to put it on his back. So that was a really cool visual. For 10, I put it on his tongue. Again, another weird one, but I kind of likes the idea because, okay, Dragon Quest 10 is the only Dragon Quest game that's like mainline that isn't like outside of Japan. Like technically you can play it, but you need to use a translator and all this other stuff because it's an online MMO game, which really sucks. And they also made an offline version, but they didn't localize that either. It's really stupid. So I was like, oh, I think the idea of like X having like it on his tongue where he's like taunting the viewer like, haha, you guys didn't get a localized version of this game, was like kind of funny. That's what I did with his icon and the previous years, where I was like, oh, I'm making kind of like a taunting thing because most Dragon Quest fans have probably not played 10, and if they have, they had to like, you know, do all this English translation stuff for it. For 11, I made him look kind of dramatic because he's like the final mainline hero that's like shown, so I made him very like dramatic looking. I wanted to make him look more, I don't know, heroic looking, but I kind of like the idea of him making him look brooding, mysterious, because I thought it matched the vibe of being right next to 12, and 12 looks more determined and a little bit scary because like a lot of the stuff about Dragon Quest 12 seems to be like shrouded in mystery right now, and also it seems to be going in a darker direction, so I thought like, oh, it makes sense to have like 11 and 12 be like kind of both dark next to each other. And Dragon Quest 11 is also a relatively dark game. Like it does get pretty dark, and the hero goes through some like traumatizing shit, so I don't blame him for looking the way that he does in that picture. And also I wanted the excuse to draw his very flowy hair. The game really wants to gaslight you into thinking that he has like really nice shiny like perfect hair, but the way his model looks, like the way the hair model looks, it's not that flowy and like nice looking. So it's like, okay, in the art, in like fan art, it looks more flowy and nice. But anyway, so that's basically my thought process for each of the heroes. So now on to what the series is about and why you guys should get into it. So what is Dragon Quest? That is the real question. The worst way to describe it would be medieval fantasy Dragon Ball. And the best way to describe it would be a very formulaic franchise where it kind of follows like a group of heroes that go on a quest to save the world from an evil bad guy. And on their journey, they go from town to town, usually solving some sort of issues, and it usually ends up leading to them discovering some clues about the bad guy and how to get to the bad guy's lair, and then they beat the bad guy and live happily ever after. This is the worst way of me summarizing it, but quite literally that's like the formula, especially for like the first 3 games. But afterwards, I would say it definitely gets more complex, and the villains, in terms of Dragon Quest villains, the final bosses are usually like one-dimensional. They're usually just, oh, I'm a bad guy, I want to like make some sort of super hell or something, or I want to plunge the world into infinite and eternal darkness because I'm evil, or the final boss is like some sort of culmination of just like all the evil energy in the world or whatever. Basically, the final bosses are very just evil. They're evil incarnate. Usually it's like there are subordinates that are more evil and more interesting in a way, because they're the ones that you're probably gonna have to deal with more throughout the course of a game. Usually they're the ones you have to defeat before the final boss, so they tend to have more personality. The exceptions will probably be Dragon Quest 4 and 9, where you have Sorrow the Manslayer, who's like this angsty and angry dude who's just really mad at mortals for how they treated his girlfriend, and he's like, you know what, fuck you guys, I'm going to fuck you all up, and he turns into a monster. I am summarizing it very poorly just because I don't want to spoil anything too much. And then Dragon Quest 9, it's basically like a fallen angel wants revenge against mortals. I'm sensing a pattern here. The more sympathetic villains being Sorrow and Thor and Corvus, being that they're basically like, they were sort of normal, but then like mortals did something that kind of fucked them over, and they were like, you know what, I hate you guys, I'm going to ruin everything because you guys like made me really upset. Like, I know I'm like really ruining the summary of that, but like, yeah, that's basically how they are. And as to the other games, again, pretty one-dimensional. Eternal evil, darkness, blah blah blah, doom and gloom, ooh, scary. And it sounds cliche. I think with Dragon Quest, the story is more about like, it's not really about the final boss, it's more about the characters and the party and like the journey leading up to it, you know? Like, that's where the core of like the character arcs and all of that sort of culminate to, and that's what makes Dragon Quest really compelling in my opinion. Dragon Quest has really great characters. Each game definitely has a really good cast of characters. I would definitely say that Dragon Quest 8 has like one of the best casts. Everyone is like so well written, and like all their arcs are really compelling. There's this YouTuber, Grania, who's made videos about some Dragon Quest characters. Recently, she made a video about Jessica from Dragon Quest 8, and I recommend you check that out because it was actually really good. And she's like the only Dragon Quest channel that's like making content of like Dragon Quest stuff that I actually want to see more of. So if you want to see like that sort of thing, and you're, you know, want to get into Dragon Quest, or you're already a Dragon Quest fan, I would check out her channel. Anyway, so I think now I should probably talk about how I got into the series, and then talk about my favorite games, and also why you guys should play them. I actually made a video a very long time ago of how I got into Dragon Quest, but it sucks, so don't watch it. But basically, I discovered Dragon Quest back in like 2010, and I saw a bunch of ads for it, and I was like, huh, this game looks interesting. And this was like the first time I'd ever really seen ads for Dragon Quest. Like, in general, I would say it comes to ads, I don't see too many for Dragon Quest. I do recall seeing some when Dragon Quest 8 got its 3DS remake, but that's kind of it for the most part. But anyway, so I remember seeing ads for it, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever because it appealed to like my 9-year-old brain, because I'm like, wait a second, this is a video game where you can create not one, but several customizable characters, and you can go on like epic adventures and stuff. That's great, I want to play a game like that. And so that Christmas I asked for it, and then I didn't get it. I got it like a little bit later. I don't know what happened. I guess my parents forgot or something like that, but we got it at Best Buy, and I came home and I played it like crazy. But unfortunately, I discovered something rather quickly after playing the game. I sucked at it, like, really badly. Like, I was not doing well with this game. I could not play it to save my life. I didn't give up on it, but, like, I kept dying because this was the first time I'd ever played an RPG, so I was really confused. I didn't know where I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I was just kind of winging it. So I had to go onto sites like GameSpot, and I had to look up, like, tutorials and all this other stuff on, like, how to beat the final boss and, like, how to level up and how to grind properly, where to get certain items and all this other stuff. And eventually I learned and I got better, and that led to me, you know, beating the final boss, and that was like the most cathartic and freeing feeling ever because it took me a year to beat the game. Keep in mind, I was 9 years old, so, like, because I was up to that point, I was just playing My Sims, so, you know, I wasn't really a true gamer in that sense. I was not an RPG person. I still really am not. I mean, I do like some, but, like, I don't really play much video games in general anyway. Like, I only play from, like, the select few that I own, so, yeah. Anyway, so that got me into Dragon Quest, and after that point, I got obsessed with it. And unfortunately, that's when I discovered that not many people knew about Dragon Quest, despite Dragon Quest 9 having a lot of publicity. Like, it was literally advertised a lot. Like, freaking Zach and Cody did something related to it, and I was like, what?
I brought a game. Dun, 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 dun. Dragon Quest.
I haven't played DQ since our days at the hotel.
And I need thy help, Django Darkblade.
There was a Seth Green ad for Dragon Quest 9.
Guys, I have an extra ticket to the concert tonight. Take me, dude, take me. Oh, choices, right? In Dragon Quest 9, I had to choose between a martial artist and a warrior to take in a battle with me. I chose a warrior. Who will you choose?
Huh? Huh? Huh?
I'm being serious. I don't know what the heck was going on with Dragon Quest 9, but I guess they're really trying to get Dragon Quest, like, popular back in the day. And it's the most 2000s ad ever, but I love it so much because it's like nostalgic for me because I remember seeing it. I think I saw it on TV actually, which is crazy to think about. So after I played through Dragon Quest 9, I discovered the other Dragon Quest games, and that led to me wanting to ask for more Dragon Quest games on my DS because that was like the only console I really had at the time. And unfortunately, back then, they did not have the other Dragon Quest games on, like, consoles that I owned, aside from Dragon Quest 8. So I got Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 on the DS because that was the DS remakes, but I was not aware that they're remakes. I thought they were, like, recent, as in that was, like, the most recent entries. But no, Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 came out ages ago, so that was something I discovered, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was also disappointed because those games were not like Dragon Quest 9 in the slightest, in terms of they were not in full-on 3D, and you cannot customize your character or party. And that disappointed me, but I still played the games. I learned quickly that I wasn't really playing, like, as a customizable character. I was playing as a hero who was already, like, had, like, a predestined sort of backstory, or like predetermined backstory and all that, and it was just me kind of playing through that person's life story pretty much. So yeah, I was basically in the perspective of already a preset hero, whereas in Dragon Quest 9 I could make that preset hero. When I played 4, 5, and 6, I had a bit more experience, so I kind of understood the gist of, like, how to play an RPG at that point. It was difficult though in a way because those Dragon Quest games were older, and I feel like older Dragon Quest games are a lot more difficult. A lot of people nowadays will say to play Dragon Quest 11 first, but in my opinion, you really should play 9 first because it really is the easiest Dragon Quest game in my opinion. It's very forgiving, and I think that's why it's so popular among, like, newcomers, because it's really easy. Like, looking back on it, I could beat Dragon Quest 9 if I, like, just grinded through in a week, probably. Maybe 2, but I definitely feel like it's a very quick game to beat, and that's just simply because it's just a game that's very, you know, it seems very beginner friendly. It doesn't seem too harsh in terms of, like, grinding, whereas older games it feels like it was a lot harder, and also the game gives you a lot of, like, hints and more leeway, and also just more, like, in the older games you kind of had to figure things out for yourself a lot, and it was very non-linear, whereas in Dragon Quest 9, everything was pretty linear. Like, you could kind of tell where you're going to go to next. There was definitely some freedom at a certain point, but ultimately, it still led to like the same conclusion, so it wasn't that freeing, but that's fine though. Anyway, so the other 3 games that I played, 4, 5, and 6, were pretty fun. I would definitely say that 5 and 6 were my faves. 5 is really dark though. Like, the main character goes through so much shit. Like, bro is suffering so much. And also, fun fact, Dragon Quest V has a movie adaptation. It's quite controversial in the fandom for a specific reason. The ending is a bit weird, and that's all I'm gonna say. It's very weird, and they do a lot of things that I don't really like, so it doesn't feel full-on Dragon Quest-y. It's one of those things where I feel like if you're not into Dragon Quest, I think you still might like it, but if you are into Dragon Quest, you might like it. But at the same time, there were a lot of things that were left out. It definitely feels like somewhat accessible, but not really. I don't know. It's a weird movie. I wouldn't say it was a bad movie, but like, they could have done a little bit better. So it did not leave a great impression for like the first CGI animated Dragon Quest movie, which I'm shocked considering how popular it is in Japan. I figured there would be more already, but whatever. And also I think it's weird because Dragon Quest V is a pretty long game, so I feel like it would make more sense if it was an anime rather than movie, because the way it moved was just too quick. It was too quick of a movie. And I'm being vague because I don't want to spoil anything, because personally, I think you guys should play the games. Anyway, so after that point, I also played a little bit of Dragon Quest VIII, but that actually was for a couple of years later, because I think Dragon Quest VIII was just a little pricier even back then, and also just because I wasn't really playing on my PS2 as much, so I kind of held off on it. Dragon Quest VIII is also a pretty amazing game. I would say it's definitely a fan favorite. A lot of people love Dragon Quest VIII. Like, if no one is hyping up Dragon Quest 9 or 11, they're going to be hyping up Dragon Quest 8 because it has the best cast. It also is the first Dragon Quest game to have voice acting and on full-on CGI models. And also, it was just... it's such a great game. I haven't beaten it, but I have seen like what happens and like all that. So like I do know what happens near the end, but I just haven't played through all of it because I really suck at it. And also my first game actually got corrupted because I was trying to use cheat codes because I was really bad at the game. I got kind of desperate and then it ruined the game. So I bought a new game, but I haven't played that one either because, well, I'm just not good at gaming, okay? I suck at gaming. Anyway, so that's like the other mainline game that I've played. And then the last will be Dragon Quest XI. That is the most recent entry. And again, amazing. It is amazing. And chances are if you have heard of Dragon Quest, you might have seen Dragon Quest XI a lot because it is one of the best Dragon Quest games. Like, seriously. I think it really like encapsulates like what makes Dragon Quest so great. It has really well-written and compelling characters. It has a fun, yet still heartwarming and somewhat heart-wrenching atmosphere at times. Like, Dragon Quest can really make you emotional when it wants to. It's wholesome and fun for the most part, but when it hurts, it hurts. Like, it's gonna make you feel sad for a while. And Dragon Quest XI definitely delivered on that front. It got really emotional at times. Again, I'm not spoiling anything because I want you guys to go experience it for yourselves. I mean, if you can't play the game in any sort of way, you can at least watch the cutscenes. All this stuff, like all this information you can literally find on YouTube. There is some YouTuber that has all the cutscenes or all gameplay, commentary or no commentary. So if you're like, I can't play these games, just watch some YouTuber. Like, trust me, there's plenty. Dragon Quest is old enough to like have a bunch of resources to like at least know about what happens. It's old as shit in terms of video games. Like, human wise, it's not that old, but like gaming wise, it's pretty old. Anyway, so why should you get into Dragon Quest? Well, for one thing, I think I can appeal to a certain aspect that I think my subscribers will definitely like. It's cozy. Yeah, that's right, it's a cozy game series, in my opinion anyway. It's not ultra cozy, so it's not like Animal Crossing, but it's cozy in the sense that Dragon Quest has a very like wholesome feeling to it. Like, a lot of people have described Dragon Quest as a comfort food. It's very sweet. It's not too intense. There isn't excessive violence or blood really shown. It's very PG, so it's a series that I think that you can like play to wind down after like a hard day or something like that. It's a series that puts you in a good mood. It's not something that's gonna make you feel worse unless you get to emotional part of a game, then you might feel worse. But for the most part, it's just very cute. And also, I think what contributes is the monsters. The monsters in Dragon Quest are just they're so adorable. Like, the slime is the most iconic design, and it is such a genius concept, and I love it so much because it's so simple and it works. Like, that's why you see slime patterns in a lot of Dragon Quest merch, because it's such an iconic but simplistic design. Akira Toriyama's character and monster designs were some of the best aspects of Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest has amazing character designs. Like, it is something that you really should like reference if you want good fantasy characters, because they're all so good. The monsters are very non-threatening for the most part. Like, there are some monsters that are definitely very terrifying, but for the most part they're cute. Like, they're all so adorable and colorful and quirky looking. They look cartoonish. Like, I guess sure, if you were to give them more of a realistic texture, and if I were to see something like whatever in real life, I would be a little bit more scared, but like in game, they're cute. Like, I see characters that were afraid of slimes, and I'm like, are you serious? If I saw a slime in real life, I would hug it. Why would I be afraid of that? And then there are other monsters where it's like, even if they're not cute, they look, for the most part, harmless. Or like, they look so cartoonish that I can't really take it seriously as a threat. But yeah, like, Dragon Quest just has a very cute vibe. I'm using cute a lot. It's cute. Akira Toriyama's art style, especially when it comes to Dragon Quest, is very cute. The characters just have this very, like, friendly, approachable vibe to them. Even the characters that are more of like a tough look to them still seem cute in a way. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just endearing. That's a better word. They're endearing. Everyone is like rather endearing in their own way, and I think it just really adds to the overall vibes of Dragon Quest. I've also seen people describe Dragon Quest as like a fairy tale, and that's pretty accurate. Dragon Quest is very fairy tale like. I mean, it takes place in a setting where it's medieval fantasy, but Dragon Quest also likes to do its own thing with the genre. There's a lot of twists that they add to it. Like, for example, they like to add some technology. So there's not really a specific time period set for Dragon Quest. Some games, there are trains, there's robot monsters. So yeah. So Dragon Quest is a little inconsistent, but it's like, it's its own thing. It makes sense in its own universe somehow. Everything just runs on magic, despite it being like medieval Europe somehow. And it works. Dragon Quest makes it work. It's weird how it works, but it does. And that's what makes Dragon Quest so interesting and unique. And also, I think just compared to like a lot of other JRPGs, like, not to put them down, but I just feel like Dragon Quest just has, because of its wholesome and sort of like beginner friendly feeling, it doesn't seem like a series that's like too intimidating. And also, all the mainline games are not like connected necessarily, so you can play any game at any point and you're not gonna really miss out on anything aside from like very small details. Like, if you play Dragon Quest 6 first, you might be like, what the heck is Zenithia? And then you go backwards and you're like, oh, Zenithia is like this kingdom in the sky, and it's like this entire concept that's like part of it, because Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 are a trilogy, but it's like loosely connected through themes and like certain motifs and settings and all that. It's not really like a cohesive ongoing story. So if you were to play a Dragon Quest game, that's why a lot of people are going to recommend different things, because frankly, like, you're not really gonna lose anything if you start on like the latest game and then go backward. There's also been talk of like timelines and stuff. It's all over the place, and frankly, I'm not the type of person to wrap my head around that sort of thing, so I try not to think too hard about it. But if you find fun in that, good for you. That's not my thing though. I'm not good at theorizing. Anyway, oh yes, another major part of Dragon Quest is its friendship and love is like kind of the main themes of like Dragon Quest, and you know, community, family, and all that. Like, it sounds very cheesy, and it kind of is, but like, that's what makes it so nice, you know? Sometimes, even though Dragon Quest 12 is said to be more mature and dark, I don't mind. I love edgy shit. I love angst, so I don't mind. But sometimes, you know, in this world where media is dark and gloomy or just full of angst, sometimes I just want a series that's just cute and fun and it makes your heart feel all fuzzy wuzzy. Dragon Quest is just that series, you know? It's like, it's a series that really embodies comfort food. It's like coming home to mom's cooking. It's a warm blanket on a winter's night. It's the embodiment of cozy, and that's why I think you guys will like it. So yeah, anyway, I hope this video was enough to get you guys getting into Dragon Quest, and if not, then I don't know how else to convince you otherwise, unless I break into your house and I like try to force you to play it. But aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this weird rambly video, and I'll see you quacks later.